Is your job leaving you unfulfilled and you lack motivation? There's a way out. I interviewed Fabio, who moved to London, built a six-figure consulting business, and is now helping other professionals to leave their 9-to-5 and find their purpose. If you're interested in hearing how to build a one-person business, create a personal brand, and take charge of your life, this episode will give you many tips and insights on how to do that. Would you like to start with the introduction?
Yeah, of course. So Maru, thank you very much for the invite.
My pleasure.
First of all, it's my first time on a podcast, right? So that's exciting.
Very good.
Just about myself, quickly, I left Deloitte a few years ago, moved to London. I opened my own company and then made six figures in less than 10 months. Now what I do, I help top professionals build their own one-person business with a purpose.
Okay. You want to tell more about the one-person business? Like, what is the current offer about?
Of course, yeah. So basically what I do, I help top professionals to leave their 9-to-5 job and build their own one-person business. This is a transition, right? It's a long-term plan, which of course can have immediate results, right? So that's where I assist.
So talking about your background, I'm curious, how did you get out of 9-to-5 and more about the jump from Italy to London and you building your network and your career in London?
Of course. I was in the corporate world for 10 years, worked at Deloitte, Accenture. Literally, that's the great environment to master time management, business and IT strategy, process optimization. But what actually I felt there is that deep down, I knew I wanted more. When I say more autonomy, right? So I basically decided to, at some point in my life, I decided to leave all the perks, everything I really fought for ages, great salary, great role, company car. This was like a great achievement, at that time, right? And basically decided to move to London with no job, no network, nothing.
Wow.
It was a big shock, for everybody. At that time, my ex, she was in the UK, right? So it was also, a reason to get closer to her. But there were loads of factors that actually pushed me to do that, right? And basically I figured out all by myself how to set up a consulting business in London. I was lucky enough to hit six figures, in 10 months, basically. I think probably, the most difficult part for me was handling the kind of social pressure, right? That I believe all the people that want to leave their 9-to-5 job, right? And want to move to entrepreneurship is going to basically to face, right? Which is basically the pressure from your parents, from your friends. What are you doing? In my case, it was like, what are you doing? There is Brexit.
Yeah.
Everybody leaves the UK, you're going to London. What are you doing? People would come up with the funniest stories to prove you're wrong.
For
right?
sure.
So probably, my takeaways there, which I believe is super important, is that you need to have a clear plan, right? To actually make the move, but that does not mean that you need to know everything from the start, right? So you just need to keep moving forward the direction that you envision, and then, you're going to track those things.
Yeah, sounds very good. I believe this is also something you also used in London when you started. You had a general idea and you started building from there.
Correct. Yes. That's exactly. Basically, it's a consulting business, right? So, I reused partially some of the skills that I've learned in my consulting job, right? And then, of course, what I didn't know was all the marketing part, right? How do you actually find the job, right? How do you? My English now it got a bit better, right?
Sure.
My English, when I arrived to London, of course, wasn't that great. I consult 8 or 9-figure insurance companies, right? So the level is very, very high, right? So your English needs to be good. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
It was probably one of the challenges as well.
I see. Nice one. You want to expand, like you said, social pressure is one of the big ones that people need to face when they are thinking about leaving 9-to-5 and like jumping to the other side of getting more autonomy and like making their own rules for their life.
Yeah.
You have any other point you want to discuss? Like, what are the big roadblocks for people to do that? What is commonly their issues?
I believe very, very good question, by the way. I believe what I've seen, with the people I worked on. I talked in the last few months, I talked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs and top professionals, of course. I believe the biggest roadblock there is fear, right? And there is a fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of what others will think, what we discussed before. But, there is always, what I always say is that there is always a thing, right? That every successful entrepreneur faces these fears, right? So it's not, at some point, it's not only about your expertise, it's about your mindset, your positivity, believing what you're doing. And of course, if you believe in what you're doing, then other people are going to start believing too.
Yeah.
And I get that not everybody might have that attitude, but that's, again, I think that's something that becomes part of your self-development. And that I think that worked for me, right? I think you can build the attitude and there are ways of building it, right? So you can build by starting small, for example.
Yeah.
You can take micro risks, right? So you want to validate your ideas. That's why imagine leaving your 9-to-5 job. I always talk about transition, right? I talk about transition and I talk about calculated risks, right? So I would never suggest anyone to leave their 9-to-5 job unless they are in that luxury position where they can take those calculated risks, right? Because you don't need to pay the mortgage if you have a mortgage, right? So you need to be careful, right? But there is still that purpose to actually make an impact in the world, right? Which your 9-to-5 sometimes they cannot give you.
Yeah, you mentioned purpose before. What does that mean?
Purpose for me means what's your goal in your life? What do you expect to do, right? Well, how you actually can make a difference.
Yeah.
Right? That's simply that, right? And everybody has got his own, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. That's something to, self-actualization. It's one of the big things. Like if you're employed in a regular job, usually there's not so much about your purpose and finding what's really like moving you or important to you. So
correct.
Finding your purpose is one of the big things that really attracts us to jump on the other side and start our own business to, I guess, have a more fulfilling life.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a journey. There are several factors actually that can contribute to this journey, right? So one is definitely handling, actually making that decision, right? So handling that fear, right? Handling that social pressure.
Right.
But also, sometimes people do not, what I actually realized between my friends and between the interviews that I had is that people don't listen to their gut as much as they should.
Right.
Right. So they are in a position where, they think, okay, my parents, my grandma, they love me, right? They want me to be that person.
Yeah.
But do I want to be that person?
Exactly.
So who cares about what I actually envision? Where do I see myself, right? How can I contribute to this world? So people ignore that until they actually realize that's exactly what they wanted to do in their life. And they realize that there is the kind of self-realization, as you said.
Yeah.
Right. And then they have their crisis.
Right. Yeah, it can be, dramatic in some cases.
I can see a few.
Very true. Moving on to the next question. For building a personal brand, what are the key ingredients to stand out? There's a lot of competition, many people are interested in entrepreneurship. What are the main components to build a personal brand that stands out?
All right. Very, very interesting question. When I actually need to start creating a product or a service, I always start with the why, right? Okay. And that's because what people buy, they don't buy your product. People buy your story. People buy your personality, right? So the why is what sells, right? So that's first thing, right? So you need to have a very strong why. And personal brand for me is like a movement, right? You are the leader of that movement.
I see.
So if you have a very strong why, people are going to follow it, right? If your why is very weak, they won't resonate with you simply, right? So they will just follow you, right? So that's the first thing. And then there are definitely three things that I've always used since day one at work, which is helping a lot as well in my entrepreneurship as well, journey.
Yeah.
So the first one is trust, right? And trust is for me the number one thing that you need to have to sell, right? And that's not something that you can buy, right? Even in your corporate job, trust is not something that you can buy at all, right? You need to earn it, the way you speak, how you behave. And if people do not trust you, they don't believe you. They are just not going to follow what you say, right? So in the online business, you still have the same concept of trust, but of course, that concept is revised in the way that, for example, you can build that trust through testimonials.
Yeah.
Right. What you do, for example, when you book a hotel in Finland, right?
Yeah.
I was there for New Year's Eve, right? So you look at testimonial, you look at reviews, right? That's a service.
Yeah.
You need to build that trust, right? That's number one. Consistency, of course, that's super important, right? How you show up, whether it's through content, speaking, or networking. I always think about building a personal brand as a long game.
Yeah.
And the result will compound over time, right? So
Yes.
consistency, of course, it's a very strong point. And then, of course, authenticity. Be true to who you are. Don't be afraid to share your journey. You definitely are there to show your expertise, your true values, and those values are actually going to attract the people that actually resonate with you. And it doesn't matter, if you do not attract everybody. You don't want to attract everybody. Right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
If somebody don't like you, if people don't like me, they just don't like me. Honestly, I don't care. Right? As simple as it is.
Yeah. I think that's also another hang up for many people, that we have the tendency that we want everyone to like us. While that maybe worked in the past when we were living in small villages, but now the online world, your face is available for everyone. And I think it's also another mental hurdle that people need to go over to accept the fact that all of people don't need to like you, only some of them. And the more you show your authentic self, the better, because it's polarizing. The more some people don't like you, the more someone will, because they will resonate with your own values and your journey. Correct. And as you said, your story and personality, the big why. So it's better to be more polarizing and more open about your true self.
Correct. Yeah. And to add on this point, I believe what I actually found, London from that perspective has been very important in my life, right? Because in London, you have everybody, right? You have the entire human race in London, right? So it's very important. And we are so different as humans, right? That, of course, what you want to do, you want to have around you people that share the same value. And when people behave in the way that you don't like, right? You probably don't want to share those experiences anymore with them. Yeah. Because we are so different sometimes, right? So you definitely want to have those people that you feel good with, right? That they have, maybe they have your same values of trust, right? That I said before, right? They have integrity, right? They are authentic people. They're transparent, right? So those are very key values. Yeah.
Very good point. Moving on, other than the factors for the personal brand, also when you start your own business, there's a lot of effort that needs to be put on social media. And for that, the next question is around that, like how can you leverage systems and automation for bringing out your content to the public?
Okay, very good question. After having worked for ages, in consulting and in process optimization, of course, I recognize the importance of automation and how important it is to have some proven systems. Yeah. Right. However, I believe when we talk about systems and automation, we need to step back a bit, right? And we need to get back to the origin of the problem that we want to solve. Because the last thing that you want to do is you don't want to automate everything, right? Imagine, like, especially if you're building a one-person business. Yeah. Right. You're juggling between like hundreds of tasks every day. Right. So you can automate anything and you can use AI nowadays for anything. Right. But what is actually that you need to solve? Right. So first, you want to have a prioritized list, processes and tasks. Right, then they bring business value, right? So that list can be automated, right? So you can start from there, right? So rather than just start automating, I'm saying this because I see a lot of people trying to actually chase the next shiny object that is in the market, and then not having time to actually manage the rest of the business, right? Yeah. That becomes probably the answer to their time management issue. Right. Yeah. So it's very important to automate, but most importantly is what is actually the process that actually can bring value to my business that I want to automate, right? So just to give an example, 2 hours ago, I just closed a coaching call with a client, right? Because now he's going to be a client. So basically, this guy is from Germany, right? Top professional working at Adidas. Basically, he came to my newsletter through affiliate marketing. The affiliate marketing, of course, is automated, right? So from the affiliate marketing, he reached my newsletter. From my newsletter, he has started receiving a welcome series, right? A welcome series, of course, is a series of email, right, that you receive in the first 14 days, right? And between those emails, he received the sale email, right? So that sale email apparently did a good job.
For sure.
Because he made him click, from there to my type form, where I actually have a survey where I collect all the data about my future clients, right? So from there, he actually booked a call with me that is synchronized with my Google Calendar. So all of that happened while I was sleeping.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So amazing, right? Because that means that I wake up in the morning, I see that I have a scheduled call, right? And I just need to close the call. I just need to focus on closing the call, right? So that's for me what it means, automation, right? So it means that you're able to automate the end-to-end lead generation process, right?
Yes.
And you just have a call with this guy, right? And have the best of your time. So that's what, hopefully I answered your question.
That, yes, if you can automate lead generation, that's basically perhaps the biggest problem in most businesses. Like, if you have an automated system to bring you more clients, more potential clients, even if you sleep, that's half of the job done.
Correct. Yeah.
Very good.
And that's, I think that's key. Of course, content creation is a very important piece of the automation. That's something that I hate, for example, right? Waking up every day and posting, right? I do prefer to have a scheduler, right? That does that for me. I spend a few hours, on Friday or Saturday just to generate all my content for, for the next week or for the next 2 weeks, right? And then, of course, I have my 2 people that work for me that they can take care of the PM and the comments as well, right? So,
nice one.
Helps the outreach.
That's very good. Yeah, content automation, I'm sure for many entrepreneurs is an ongoing challenge because we need to keep producing content. It needs to be high quality content. We also need to be present at times, like, because you cannot use social media with the idea of like having one direction. There's also has to be the element of interaction with people for the engagement. So it's a daily struggle for many for the time management. Like, how can I batch things? How much time should I allot for, being on this platform and keeping it going?
My suggestion on that would be to go to Fiverr and get someone to help you. It usually is not too expensive. Of course, everybody has got different financial resources, right? But I pay, just to be clear, I pay $150 per month, right? So it's not much, right? If
That's
she does all, she does everything for me basically, and she does a good job. She does exactly what I need her to do. That doesn't mean that I don't do it, right? That means that she helps me where I can't, right? So for example, today I have a podcast with you. I had 100 million calls in the morning.
Right.
It's impossible for me just to do it, right? So of course she helps me. And I have a few other shops. Actually, they are in Europe. They are more expensive, but they basically look at other part of the business. Yes.
So we are talking about virtual assistant type of roles and people helping with the content. Yeah. That makes perfect sense because we only have 24 hours per day.
I think automation and delegation needs to be there. If you have this business, yes. And lots of people actually think about one-person business like a solopreneurship, like you're literally introvert, you and your laptop alone and just build a business. Yeah. That's exactly the opposite. What you don't want to have, right? Yeah. That becomes clear, very important to network with people, right?
Exactly.
And that's how I ended up here. Right. That's super important. Your business will not grow if you're alone.
Yeah. You want to expand on networking because you've done it a lot. You have a lot of experience from London and your career. And what would be your best advice for people to network online?
So there are 2 ways of networking, right? So what I do in London is, of course, is face to face, and that's a very different type of networking. I think what you do online, for example, is DMing people, right? Which is, I think, is underrated. Fun of the end raiser, right? So people, when they try to DM someone, they try to sell something, right? Which is something that, like, imagine, like, we're still humans, right? So imagine you're in London, right? Yeah. You're around and you have all these people trying to sell you something. You're going to buy. You're not going to buy, right? No. You're never going to buy.
You
right?
ignore them.
Yeah, you just ignore them, right? So that's a very weak attempt, right? I think I'm more a fan of engaging in interesting conversation, right?
Yeah.
Where you can actually say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I've achieved this, right? So in my case, for example, in the case of Axie95, I've achieved 1,500 subscribers in the last 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Would you mind if I send it over? And people would say, oh no, sorry, I'm not interested. Oh, but people might just say, well, actually, that's great. Okay, I'm curious, I want to have a look.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can move to, okay, what are your challenges? What are you actually doing? Then you start having a conversation like you do from
like normal people.
Right? Yes. And that's, I think that's what I do, or what I have, my team to do for me.
Very good. That makes perfect sense. Okay. For you personally, what is happening in your business today? And you said that you're helping who are doing 9 to 5 to make the jump, help them by coaching and mentoring to, well, I guess it's better that you tell me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So today my mission is pretty clear. I have top professional executive solopreneurs build personal brands or one-person business that opens door to new opportunities, whether it's consulting, it can be speaking, it can be even transitioning, from their 9 to 5 to a business, right? And I have a publication which is called Axie 9 to 5. And that's where I write every Sunday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And that's where I provide strategies, deep dives, templates, tools on how to monetize their expertise very fast, right? So it's literally about helping them stand out and unlock new revenue opportunities without feeling overwhelmed.
Sounds good. How can people subscribe to your newsletter?
So they need to go to www.exit9to5.com, and that's where my landing page is.
Brilliant. We're talking about leaving 9 to 5. I'm curious because now you have the experience doing things by yourself. What is on the other side?
How is it on the other side?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very different, man.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to that mindset I was talking about before. So your mindset and your subconscious plays a very big role, I believe. In your 9 to 5, basically, you can have a meeting that doesn't go well. Okay, that happens to the best of us, right? And then, okay, you need to figure out how to get back on that, right? And trying to manage the situation, right? But of course, as an entrepreneur, you can have some time where the market is not there. Just not there, or you need to understand, what's not working, and you don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
You just have no clue. You need to play with signals, right? The people's gives. Sometimes you don't know where to get the signals, right? So it literally can be like very, very challenging. But that's why I say that entrepreneurship is not for everybody. You need to have a passion for it. You want to stay in the game and just build a kind of mindset that takes you whatever you need to deserve or whatever you need to be ready for, right? I can definitely see there are some people that are just not ready yet.
Right.
You need to build that. Yeah.
Very good. Very, very true that you need to be able to handle a lot of uncertainty.
Correct.
Because it's uncharted territory. Even if you have a guide or have a model, it's still, you're making your own choices day to day. And there's a lot of questions.
It feels different. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also the upsides are also amazing. The freedom for location, you choose your own hours, you have opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise, and obviously a lot more autonomy.
I would never get back where I was.
I agree. Same here. Yeah.
I would never. That's simply me.
Yeah.
And I do believe in what I'm doing, and I think that's my future. I know in the next 20 years I want to do that, and that's why I'm pushing for it now that I'm still relatively younger. Yeah. But I know I'm going to be there no matter what. So that was clear, that's always been clear in my mind. And I know you can only go there if you believe on it, right?
Right.
Otherwise, what?
Very good point. And talking about future, where is Fabio going to be in 12 months?
In 12 months. Okay, interesting. There are a few things. Definitely, if I look at the Axie 9 to 5, basically, the goal is I want to have 1,000 people by 2026.
Okay.
Right? I believe, the next 3 months. So, of course, the project was born 2 months ago, right? And I expect, probably... So initially I wanted to reach 1,000 people by 2020, right? I hope that's going to happen earlier than that, right? So That's the kind of target for me at the moment.
By reaching 1,000 people, what does it mean in concrete terms?
I want to help them building their personal brand, building their one-person business, right? So I want to see them making progress, right? And everybody has his own pace, right? So I do not expect all of them to make money, right? That there can be some that it would be probably millionaires. Some of them probably will make, a few $1,000, right? So everybody has his own pace, but I do have the kind of impact to achieve, from that perspective.
That's a great mission. And my impression for the future is that even more and more people are going to be interested in starting their own businesses and building their own ways, how they want to live their life. And more as we see these examples online and conversations like this, that there are a lot of people who are doing this, and it's not rocket science. Of course, there's a lot of questions and problems and challenges to solve, but it's available and there's a lot of opportunity. And you can follow as you said, it can be about speaking, it can be about business consulting. There's many different avenues people can go forward. So yes, I'm positive that Exit 9 to 5 will reach the 1,000 people.
So I think that there should be something challenging, but not impossible. The other thing, coming back to your point, I believe at the moment, probably the market is still quite volatile, right? That's the way I see it, right? Yeah. So it needs to you remember when I told you before, not everything needs to be known from the start, right?
Right.
I think we are at that stage where things are there, but they're not too clear. Definitely the personal branding is going to help you, right? But we don't know what's the power, right?
Yeah.
That power, that's unknown, right? It can be like super powerful, if you look at platforms like LinkedIn, they're exploding at the moment.
For
right?
sure.
They can be very, very powerful. Yeah. But of course, we don't know, right? There is loads of up and downs there at the moment.
Exactly. Well, my general belief is that whatever happens, this kind of thing is going to keep growing. The creator economy as a whole, and getting started now is better than doing it in 5 years or waiting for it, because these platforms are free. You can start engaging, you can start building, you can create your plan and take it in steps. As you said, it doesn't need to be a huge jump, but small calculated risks.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. One thing actually I was reflecting on a few days ago was the difference between building a one-person business and building a personal brand.
Yeah.
Right. That's my idea. Still, I haven't established a clear idea about that. I believe if you have a personal branding as such can be very weak if for any reason your personal brand actually is linked to a bad situation, right? That's just a person, right?
Yeah.
If you actually create a business, right, and that business has your own voice, it's very different, because you can, if you're associated to a bad event, right, you still have a full-time business, right, that can keep running, right? You can just substitute yourself with someone else, right? But personal brand has your own name, right? And your own name is actually linked on the internet to something bad, right? That can kill your business, like overnight, right? So that's probably what I would do. I would set up a business, right? Which is a proper business, right? And then I would let that business to have your own voice.
I see. Yeah, that's an interesting distinction, because other way to say personal brand is online reputation.
Correct.
And if you get connected to an event or situation that has a negative virality, that can spell.
You will see lots of people saying online, you are your own niche, right? I would be very careful in following that message, right? I would actually build a business, right? I would actually look at what's making business, right? Okay, I want to build that business, right? Mm-hmm. Then I want that business to have a voice, right? Or to have a face. That's my face. Right, but that means that if anything, is linked to my face, actually I can disappear. I still have a business that is going to make money for me.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's less affected by things that can happen on social media.
You kind of the risk the business.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Very good. To finish off, do you have any message you want to leave with the audience?
Any message? I would probably say not to wait for the perfect time to start, right? Just go and do it, and just be conscious that your expertise and your story have immense value, right? So you want to start leveraging them as soon as possible. And of course, the sooner you take action, the sooner you create the freedom, the impact, and the legacy, right, that you're capable. And yeah, I think it's never about chasing the money. It's always about chasing your purpose, right? So align the action actually with your intention, right? And then the results will be there. Sooner or later will be there.
100%. Yeah, that's a beautiful message. Thank you, Fabio, so much for being in this interview. And I think we learned a lot. I have many notes.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot for the invite.
Absolutely.
As I said, that's my first podcast, right? So can't wait to see it online. And yeah, thank you again, man.